Welcome to Lock It Down Sports on E5280 Radio. I'm Locke Hoover. You can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. And today on the show, the latest changes the NCAA has made. Is there a possible NFL change in the works? And who would you rather be as a fan? Yes, I want to get into Shohei Ohtani stuff as well, but that won't be today. That'll probably be next week or later on down the line because I want to see what more details comes out with the reports. I've got my suspicions, but I want to see what else transpires in the next week or two to see where they are with that. So I got the Shohei Ohtani stuff covered. That's later on another show. So I'm looking forward to that. But first, I want to get into this with the Atlanta Braves signing Adam Duvall to a 1-year, $3 million deal. If you're Duvall, I think you're a little happy and a little disappointed as well. I mean, on his and I'm sure he figured he would be getting more than $3 million and more than a 1-year deal. Or maybe he'd signed another 1-year deal, but he's getting 8 to 10. Well, obviously that didn't happen. So he's disappointed on that front. But, he's got to be happy going back to the Braves if he's going to get around $3 million. And it's a great signing all the way around for the Braves. I mean, it provides depth and an option for the Braves. He's going to be a platoon that side, so he's going to bat against lefties. And he's going to play left field, and he's going to platoon with Jared Kelenic, who has struggled early in his career against lefties, being a left-handed hitter, and it provides them insurance in case something happens. And to me, I don't think this really diminishes Kelenic's role at all because he's going to get the majority of the at-bats against the righties. He's probably getting 400 at-bats. And that's playing the obviously majority of the time. Also, too, like I said, I think it provides insurance for the Braves on multiple fronts. Kelenic is working on changing his swing, coming over from the Seattle in spring training. Now, reports yesterday, Kevin Seitzer was saying his swing's looking sexy now. And that's always a good sign when you hear the hitting coach saying the swing looks sexy because he's had a lot of changes, dropped his hands, and that takes time because he was struggling a bit in spring. So I don't read into spring training numbers a whole lot, but there's that component to it of, is he going to be able to get a swing in place? Is he going to be able to get it straightened out and figured out? And I think that's one of the things I think the Braves could, if need be, send him to the minors. It's not foreign for them to do that. Remember a few short years ago, they did that to Adam Duvall. I mean, this is Duvall's third tour of duty with the Braves, but I believe it was his first tour of duty when they got him. He started and played basically a full year in the minors before they brought him up because he had minor league options, and the Braves are all about depth. And when they're building their team, if you got an option, you're with the Braves, more than likely you're going to be sent down. So I'm not saying that will happen at all, of course, but it's definitely a possibility if he does struggle out of the gate, or maybe continues to struggle out of the gate. Yeah, maybe, but if he continues to struggle, okay, you get Duvall plugging in at left. Now, also, too, just provides overall outfield depth. Yes, Ronald Acuna looks fine. He's played fine in spring training since his knee scare. But that, to me, always makes you nervous and weary about that. That's always a concern, especially with Ronald Acuna, as explosive as he is. You want to be okay giving him a day or two, if need be. You can just plug Adam Duvall out there and right. Or at the very least, give Ronald Acuna a day by DHing him, and then you put Duvall out there in right field. Same thing with Harris. If he needs a day, Duvall is capable of playing center field. Same thing with Matt Olson. If heaven forbid Matt Olson gets hurt, Duvall can play first, or he can DH, and you have Marcel over at first, whichever one of the two you prefer, the Braves prefer from that end. And then if, like I said, Olson overall struggles, not Olson, excuse me, if Ozuna overall struggles, yeah, he was great last year. If he produces like he did last year, then we're in good shape. But let's say he turns into what he was previously before last year, where he had some struggles. Then you get Adam Duvall to plug in. And one thing about Adam Duvall, since it's looking like he's not going to be an everyday player, I think you lose some value because he's not a 1-for-3 singles hitter. Play him, play him off the bench. He's going to get a hit. He's streaky. He's a streaky hitter. There's going to be there's ebbs and flows with him where he's really hot, and then he struggles. And he's not a huge average guy, but he's power, slug, homers, RBI kind of guy. And when you look down at the end of the year in that 6, 7, 8 hole for the Braves, if Duvall's playing every day, you're like, oh, all right. Good guy to have some big hits, some big homers, big moments. It's going to be a little bit different this year for the Braves and Duvall because that's kind of the player he is. But I love it. Great signing for the Braves. And it really solidifies their bench and depth in the outfield. Now, with the NCAA tournament getting started, everybody enjoy it. It's always a blast, especially this month, especially these first 4 days and 4 weeks of game, 4 days of games, first 2 rounds, always crazy. But that got me to thinking, who do you want to be? And I mean by that, as a fan, who would you rather be? I'm taking out the obvious, okay? I think currently everyone wants to be an Alabama fan. And I mean a true Alabama fan. I don't mean an Alabama football fan, a North Carolina basketball fan, and then a Dallas Cowboys football fan, a New York Yankees baseball fan. I'm talking about a true through and through Alabama fan because I don't have to explain to you how dominant they've been in football the last 10 years or ever since Saban, really. Obviously, he's going to see what happens with DeBoer and company, but we're talking off the last 10 to 15 years. I don't need to explain that. But then also, they've been competitive in basketball too, making deep runs in the NCAA tournament. They haven't won a title, but they've been in the conversation. So everyone wants to be there where you go from football straight into basketball, where you get your team's 2 chances of winning a national title. Or North Carolina, to a lesser extent, always making a deep run in the NCAA basketball tournament with championships sprinkled in along the way. And then a football team that's not going to embarrass you, somewhere in the 6 to 9 wins. Those are the 2 obviously ideal. Of those, I would choose Alabama over North Carolina because I'm more of a football fan. Then you've got teams like Tennessee and that area, that type of team. currently they're an 8-10 win football team. If things currently break right, they make it to the playoffs. Although I think that could change, especially with the expanded playoffs, where everybody gets in the playoffs basically now. Where it's like a participation trophy. If you don't suck, you're going to be in the playoff. And then you've got a basketball team under Rick Barnes, who's a top 15, top 25 team every year to win a championship. They haven't, but they're in the discussion, in the conversation of, hey, yeah, if Tennessee wins, it's like, okay, I can see that based on their personnel and who they are. Then you get a school and a team like Georgia. Obviously, I don't need to explain the football part, but I don't think their fans know they've got a basketball team. I don't think they know where they play. I don't think they know they play at Stegman Coliseum or could name a single player on their team. Also, this is the current expectation of the fan base. And me as a fan, this is where I'd want to be, knowing I'm going to win a title in football, or you can basically book it to be in the playoffs, especially this run under Kirby Smart every year, and be a top, let's just say conservatively, top 4, top 5 team every year. And then, of course, not having a real shot at basketball. Plus, for me as a fan, I mean, basketball doesn't start until January after the football season ends. I mean, that's really when you're like, all right, for me, basketball's finally started. Or even, I take that back, maybe even like later in February when the NFL season starts. So early to mid-January into February in the conference play is really when basketball season starts for me. And then if you're a Georgia fan, you don't have to worry about anything during basketball season. It's like your time to relax and still stew over being upset about the football season if you feel like you got screwed over or they lost in a big game and you're upset about that. So it's kind of a sigh of relief not knowing you have to sweat out the NCAA tournament. And, oh man, I hope we're not one of those teams that loses to a 13, 14, or 15 seed in the NCAA tournament. But that's where I want to be, a team knowing of those two scenarios and situations, we're going to dominate in football. And maybe one of these days we can get it right and have a basketball successful program. But it's fun, and enjoy your NCAA tournament and root for your schools, your actual school that you always pull for, not an Alabama football fan, a North Carolina basketball fan. Those people are ridiculous, and it always drives me crazy. Now, I think something else that it's not really drives me crazy, but it's kind of a head scratcher if you ask me, and that is the NFL. And in this sense, there might be a new way the NFL decides to measure first downs. So they're testing and exploring a system to measure first downs electronically. It probably won't happen this year since they're still testing it. They say it might get in the works and they might use it, but I highly doubt that. And it is kind of crazy. It seems to me like, why hasn't this already been in place? With all the technology there is today, and who doesn't want a more accurate ball marking system? and thing in place and system in place of the line to gain. How short are you really? As funny as it is, we're still using chains to measure where the football is and how much farther it has to go, which is crazy to me considering all the cameras, the technology, all the options that there are today. Now, the plan is, or the talk is, they'd use a system called Hawkeye Video, which is a video system which is used for tennis replay. And as you see, if you've watched any tennis match, it's when they go to challenge or like the mark, you can see the court and like the ball, if whether it's in or whether it's out. So seems like a very logical system that they will use. And I think when it comes to testing, it wouldn't surprise me if they tried it out in the USFL to see how it works out, what kinks need to be fixed, what the issue is. Because they've done that in other leagues before, the XFL in previous years when those upstarts came into the league or came into being. They took some stuff that worked and brought it into the NFL. So it's pretty I think this will be a good thing for the NFL whenever they do and get it all straightened out. Now, something else I do think is a good thing as well, and that is the NCAA national signing period will be moved up to December 4th through the 6th. So it's the new December signing day period. It's being pushed up even more. So if you're not familiar with those dates, that's essentially right after conference championship games. So I like this because it's well before the portal now, because it was pretty much overlapping of signing day in December and the portal opening. So it's okay, I'll just go pluck this kid out of the portal and I won't worry about recruiting that position. And that's where I think this helps the high school kids with landing spots, because there'll be more uncertainty if a team can land X portal kid. I think in turn too, it'll also help coaches know what they really need to go get in the portal based on what they did and didn't get in high school recruiting. Yes, even if you get 2 receivers or 3 receivers, you might go get that sophomore, junior, or senior at another school from the portal. Yeah, absolutely. But it's, hey, I might go get 1 portal kid instead of 3 for this position to restock. So I think it's going to help the high school recruits overall. Now, I think some of the effects of this moving this up is I think head coaches are going to get fired sooner, because the school and the coaches and the university and the ADs want to get out ahead of it. We're in the business of hiring a head coach. It might be 4 games in as opposed to 6 or 7 or 8 games. Yes, will this affect their signing period? Of course, on the early going, because that is a really quick turnaround of being able to hire your head coach for that first recruiting class. I mean, to get a coach in place, if you fire him after game, let's just say 5, to get out in front of it, you're not going to have your head coach in place. Therefore, your first recruiting class is going to have to be to hang on to who you had and then go heavy portal, which isn't odd these days at all based on what Colorado's strategy is with Dion. And Florida State went heavy portal this year as well. So it's not a new strategy at this point. It's not uncommon, but to maintain that sort of thing is I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be telling to see long term what it's all about, but I like it as a whole. I think it's better for the sport changing the recruiting calendar as a whole for the kids. Now, something else when it comes to changing, I think this is a good thing and a bad thing when it comes to the NFL talking about kickoff changes. And the goal of changing these rules is to make them more exciting, which I'm all for making a kickoff more exciting, but I'm not interested in one of the rules they proposed, and that is messing with the onside kick. So one of the rules proposed is you can only do an onside kicks when trailing in the fourth quarter, and you have to tell the other team you're doing it. That's right. You have to tell the other team, hey guys, we're going to do an onside kick. To me, is that not the craziest thing? I mean, obviously it limits the surprise and limits coaches' options, in my opinion. I mean, specifically, say a coach like Dan Campbell, who's a risk taker, likes to gamble on things, and like they call him Riverboat Ron. Ron Rivera likes to roll the dice, sometimes be risky, try to gain that extra possession as well. I mean, that to me is like crazy. I mean, that is also, for an example, like a pitcher telling the batter, hey, we got a fastball. Fastball's coming. See if you can hit it. Or, hey, guess what? We got slider. Slider's coming to 2-2 count. My put away pitch is a slider. Here it comes. Then there's no surprises. There's no second guessing to it. Now, the rule would allow for an unbalanced formation of 6 guys on one side and 4 on the other, which would increase the chances of the onside kick. But still, it's you have to, I mean, that's like completely telegraphing what you're doing. There's no surprise. There's no catching someone off guard. Now, another rule in the same kickoff rule, like I would be fine with and would be kickoffs. And let me just read you the rule. So the kickoff and return teams would line up on the receiving team's 40 and 35-yard lines and not leave until the ball is touched or reached the target zone, which is the 20-yard line to the goal line. So if there's a touchback, the team receiving it gets it at the 35. The ball is kicked into the target zone and rolls to the end zone. The receiving team gets it at the 20. So some of those are intriguing to me. And this one's an interesting proposal because to me it would require now a game plan, more of a game plan for your special teams coordinator. How are you going to recover the return man? There's a strategy to that. How are you going to kick it? Are you going to try to pooch it? Are you going to try to kick it at the 1-yard line as the returner? Are you going to field it? Are you going to let it roll into the end zone? That risk of, he boomed that, we get it to 35. I think it'll completely eliminate touchbacks almost entirely. I think you're going to see more. We're going to kick it at the 1 or the are short and either make the return man return and think we can cover the return man, or we're going to kick it, let it roll into the end zone, and then we get it at the 20, which is fine. That's normal. So there's a lot, and then there's all these different things in planning when it comes to coverages for return teams and special teams. So that I do like, bringing the kicking game element back into the NFL. And this, the goal of this for the NFL is to increase return rates, while also looking out for the safety and the injury rate of returns, because kickoff returns were just 22% in the NFL in 2023. 22% return rate in 2023. Obviously, they want that increased. They want that to be higher to bring that excitement and third element of the NFL back into it. So I like that, and it should be that I could honestly see this passing all as one big rule. I wish it wouldn't pass as one big rule, because I don't like the onside kick proposal to this. But so wait and see. It's a rule change proposal. We'll see what gets implemented into the NFL, because they're always tweaking, they're always changing, and teams are always proposing that sort of thing. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. Look forward to talking with you next week, right here on E52 80 Sports. Enjoy March Madness. Have a good week.